Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Elevated Beauty Podcast. I'm your host, Emily Fouts, and today's episode is a special one. We have a guest speaker on today, which is Courtney Cranford. She's on Instagram as skin.bycourtney, and she's someone that I have been in contact with on Instagram for a while. You know, one of those Instagram ST besties. But I just love her content, and I think she's a really kind person, and we're going to talk about some really relevant stuff today. So I'm looking forward to get her insight on those things. We're going to be talking about opening up during COVID, people pleasing, and a couple other things. So if you're interested, as always, keep on listening. All right, so here's Courtney. Hi, Courtney. I always feel so awkward starting them out a little bit.
That's okay. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. So we chatted kind of like off mic for a little bit. So I obviously kind of already know the answers to some of these questions, but if you want to tell everybody like where you're currently at in aesthetics and kind of where you stand in the business.
Yeah, so I have been an esthetician for over 2 years, almost 3 in May, which I'm super excited about. But I am currently working as an esthetician in Colorado Springs, and I recently became a face reality acne expert. So that's like my whole personality right now. Something that I'm really proud of. So I do facials, and I now do a lot of the face reality acne boot camps, and then I do a little bit of facial waxing, and then eyebrow or eyelash lifts and tints mostly.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, like face reality is something that I've been eyeing for a little while, but I kind of just never pushed the pedal on it, I guess.
Yeah, it's for sure a commitment, and it's such a strict protocol. So if you also, as an esthetician, are more like fluid with your clients and, and like have them trying different things and like mixing different lines and stuff, you can't do that with them. So it's a commitment on both sides for sure.
So it's probably a good thing that I didn't, because I'm very eclectic. But I love how like so many people have so good success with that. So I'm glad that you're loving it.
Yeah, I do. I really love it. And I've been using the Mandelic serum, I think personally for my favorites for my personal face is the Mandelic serum, the 8%, which I love. And then they have an antioxidant peptide gel that's so beautiful. Those are my top 2 favorites from them.
I feel like Mandelic is such an underrated acid.
I do too. I really love it. It has, and just my texture, especially on my cheeks. And I also.
So I lost Courtney for a second. The call dropped. But so we can go into, you actually went to school during COVID, which had to be crazy, right?
It was right when COVID first started. So a lot of things changed during the course of when I was in school, like as we found out more things about COVID.
So did you enroll before it happened?
Yes, I enrolled before. And then I guess probably a couple months after COVID started, we started doing no community facials, so no treatments on anybody in the community. So we were all doing it on each other. So I was getting a facial like 6 days a week pretty much. Yeah. Which was rough on my skin. I remember,
did that wreck your barrier?
Yeah. Looking back now, our teacher tried to be like, okay, well, you did this yesterday, so today, why don't you just do a hydrating something or do a bag facial, or she would try to preserve it the best she could, but we had hours that we had to get in, so there was only so much preserving of the barrier. Yeah. I'm sure my barrier was wrecked.
I wrecked my own barrier in school, like by myself.
Just trying everything.
Let's not talk about the toothpaste on the pimples whenever I was a teenager.
Oh my God. Oh no, I'm so happy now I know not to do that, because I would be like, oh, I have a pimple coming, great, no problem, I'll just put some toothpaste.
For real. And I don't know where that came from, like,
Me
but
either.
it was everywhere.
Yeah, and I think my mom probably was like, just put your toothpaste on there, girl, it'll just clear it right up.
Yeah, it'll dry it out.
Yeah, or Noxzema. Did you ever use Noxzema?
My grandma did. So I think that says something, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So going to school during COVID. So we were doing facials on each other pretty much the whole entire time. And then if you knew someone and it was like a close family friend, but they didn't live in your house, then you could have them come in and do something on them. But you had to know them personally. They had to wear a mask, and you could not live in the same house as them. There was no COVID testing or anything that we were doing like at that time, but they were checking the temperature and doing all that. But yeah, it was wild times. We did a lot of stuff on each other, a lot of practicing on each other. And looking back now, I feel like that was really good for us, because we got so close, and we would be honest with each other of like, hey, you should have, done this differently, or I feel like you pulled on my skin too hard, or, so many different things.
Yeah, good honest feedback.
Uh-huh.
So, how did state boards go even then, post-COVID?
Oh my gosh, it was, I obviously I don't have anything to compare it to, but there was only 3 of us in the room, and we were 6 feet apart. And then there was the one tester, and then one person doing the watching. And then when I took the computer, the written portion, there was also 3 of us in there with one proctor, and that was it. And so I remember our teacher telling us, like, it used to be this huge room, with all these people, and like 5 people to a table, which is that how it was whenever you did it?
No, it was like a room full of estheticians. Like when we did the physical part, I think it was like maybe 8 of us all next to each other, like in a facial bed, or facial beds in a row. And then we had like sit down, this was back in 2014, and we had just like school desks, that we all sat down together, and there was probably like 4 different instructors that were watching.
Yeah.
So
we didn't have that.
Yeah. But yeah,
that's crazy to think about, because I like I said, I don't have anything to compare it to, but I would imagine they try to do more than have more than 3 people test at one time, because if not, like sometimes people were having to wait months and months to even get a reservation to take their state boards.
Oh, and I know in Arizona, they weren't even doing state boards. They were letting people just do the written and not do the practical.
Oh, they were just not making them do it?
If I'm correct, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that would have wrecked me, though, if they were like, actually, you're going to have to wait 6 months.
Yeah. And then you actually opened your business during COVID too, right? Which I know a lot of people did, because it just like gets people's creative juices running whenever there's nothing to do. And I know so many people have like started successful businesses during that. So
yeah, or even like side hustles that they started during quarantine, that they now just left their corporate job, or they like totally changed their career field, which I think is so beautiful. Like I think COVID and our post-COVID world now changed so many things about the way we do things. And
absolutely.
Like even, now people are full-time working at home, and companies like don't even have a home office anymore, or you'll go in once a week. And I think that's so cool. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I went straight out of school to solo, which was scary. But I remember thinking, my teacher, she told us she really was hesitant about, there was a couple of us that wanted to go solo right out of school, and she was really hesitant about that. And she's like, we don't know what this is going to look like in a year, for COVID. And yeah, obviously it got way worse before it got better. But she said, especially if you're going to rent your own place, like what happens if we shut down again, and then you have no income coming in, and you physically can't work? You have to think about that as a risk that you have to be willing to take. Mm-hmm. And I don't remember being that scared which I probably should have been. Sometimes I'm a little impulsive, and if I put my mind to it, I'm just going to do it.
I am too.
So 15 days after I passed my exam, I signed a lease and moved into it's a hair salon, but they had a couple of rooms. There was a lash girl in there. There's a massage therapist in there now, but I rented a room and I opened my books and I was like, I'm doing this. So it was a little weird. I did the temperature thing. I wore a mask for any facial that I was going to be using. I didn't use steam, actually. We didn't use steam at all in school, and I didn't use it when I first started because our teacher was telling us, like, don't use any steam, don't use any steam. So yeah, I didn't for a while, and then I started again because, you know, if I had a COVID policy, you know, all the things. You were doing all the things to just try to keep your business going, and it was going really well, and I was so proud of myself looking back now for taking that leap during COVID, because it would have been very easy to be like, okay, well, I'll just wait until.
Yeah, you're so brave. It took me 8 years to go solo, dude. Like,
really?
Yes, I was an employee for 8 years.
Yeah, aren't you so happy that you're solo, or are you more stressed now?
No, it's so much more freeing. Like, you're lucky that you have not experienced the toxicity and like the restraints of that, which, I mean, an employee is great for a lot of people, but for some people it's not.
Yeah, I agree. And I have heard some horror stories. And I think that too in school, hearing, like, we would have estheticians that were solo come in and talk to us about, okay, well, if you work in this kind of setting, this is kind of what it looks like. If you work in this kind of setting, this is kind of what it looks like. If you go the med spa route, you know, just trying to give us because we couldn't go tour anywhere because of COVID. So they would come to us.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just remember thinking, I'm not going to do well in that kind of environment, because I want to go to work and then I want to go home. You know, I don't want to deal with the drama.
Yeah. I've known not a lot of people, but a few people. My mentor. So if anybody's listening, I never met you. Obviously, we never met each other when we were in Colorado Springs. But I looked up like local or I don't know if you followed me first or I followed you, but because we were both estheticians in Colorado Springs, we followed each other.
Yes.
Which I think is really important to like connect with your local estheticians and like create a community, which, I mean, there's really not a community where I am here, so that kind of sucks, but I try to follow other estheticians in Arizona.
Yeah. Are there a lot of them?
Yeah, there are.
Yeah.
There are a lot of, even, what is it, the Skin Club? I think they're a few, like maybe 2 hours away from me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the Skin Club podcast. But my mentor when I was in Colorado Springs, she was Lashes by JoJo. And she's kind of like who inspired me to go solo. She was someone who went solo right out of school. And she was really successful. So I know there are a lot of people that are super brave and that do it, like yourself.
Yeah, I do think it for sure takes some grit, you know, and that like hustle mentality. Because for a while you just have to grind it out. But then at some point, if all you're ever doing is grinding it out, then you have to reevaluate, I think, you know, and I think it's so easy, especially in the beauty service industry, to get caught up in that hustle mentality. And I'm trying to get away from that a little bit, because that's not sustainable, you know? So yeah, it is. It takes a special kind of person to just be like, I'm doing it and I'm going to figure it out.
For sure. So like, whenever you did, you know, start your business, did you discover any obstacles that you like had to overcome or anything like that?
Oh gosh. So where do I start? I think the biggest one for me, and this kind of ties into the people that like former people pleasing person that I was. I had, and this has only happened one time, but I had one person that didn't like their service. Yeah. And it happens. And it's that, yeah. And it was back when I was doing lashes, and I don't do lashes anymore, but it just wasn't what she had envisioned her eyes were going to look like, but I took it so personally.
It's
hard
not to, because that's your art. Like
literally. And I, of course, like the person that I am, I'm doing this in service of other people. You know, I want you to be happy with what I'm doing for you. And I'm like, if you don't like it, because I was a makeup artist before I was an esthetician, I always told my brides or anybody I did their makeup, I'm like, if you don't like it, you're not going to hurt my feelings, but just don't leave here without letting me fix it. Like, I just want to I just want it to be what you wanted. So anyway, she didn't like it, and I refunded her full amount. I took them off, and I was like, I'm so sorry. I can refer you to someone that I think can give you what you're looking for. But I just remember going home, and for probably a week or two, I was so in my head about, like, should I be doing this? Am I going to make it in this industry? Can I even be a successful esthetician? Kind of like imposter syndrome creeping in.
Yeah.
And so that was just really a battle with myself of, like, trusting I have my education. I care about this so much. I'm so passionate about it. And all I can do is keep learning. So now I think that looking back now, obviously I love that happened to me, because no one's ever 100% happy with something that you do all the time. You can't please everybody, but it was for sure a learning experience for me to kind of do some self-reflection, but then also tell myself, like, hey, get out of your own head. It wasn't that big of a deal. You gave her money back. You referred her to somebody. I'm sure she got some lashes that she loves. It's okay.
Yeah. Like, it's a journey learning to take the criticism constructively, like when people aren't being assholes about it. But like, also, I think 90% of estheticians roughly are very empathetic people, or we wouldn't be in the hospitality industry.
Correct.
So,
I agree.
Yeah, it's super hard for us to not take things like that personally.
Yeah, it is. And oh gosh, I don't do that anymore, because, I have the clients, I'm really lucky with the clients that I have. They're super honest, and I'm very thorough of, like, if they're asking me for something or they want a result that I'm like, okay, I don't know if what you think you want is going to get you there. Normally they're very receptive to, like, okay, well then let's do what you think is going to get me there. So I have that confidence now, but I didn't back then. And just like little baby esthetician Courtney, I just feel bad for her, because she did not have that confidence.
Right. So, like, if that scenario came up like that now, how would you say, like, you would handle it? Would you, I don't know, I guess just be more clear with people up front to set their expectations?
Yes. And I think I now wouldn't be like, oh yeah, I can for sure do that. Like, I know my parameters a lot better now. Obviously I don't do lashes anymore, because I was so obsessed with making sure that they were perfect that I was wearing myself out, and it was exhausting for me. So I was like, you know what? I would be better served to my clients to just send them to people that love doing lashes and love doing the mega volume and, all of those ones that really give me a lot of anxiety. So now I probably wouldn't have even taken her on, but I just was like, okay, I'm brand new. I'm not going to say no to anything, and I'm going to do the best that I possibly can and hopefully get her to where she wants to be. But I just couldn't and didn't, and that's okay.
I'm so glad you said that, because I think a lot of the times people have a hard time niching down, because we can, within the scope of our practice, offer so many different things. But if we're not passionate about it, or if we're not a master at that craft, then, like, you're doing a disservice to yourself and your clients by offering it.
Yeah. Yep. And then someone has a bad experience, and then they end up not ever getting that again, or even don't even want to get a facial anymore.
Exactly.
So it does more harm, I think, than good.
And that's why I don't offer leg waxes or arm waxes, because I totally despise them. And I do a shitty job at leg waxes, like, truly.
I haven't done a leg wax since I was in esthetician school, and I hope I never do one.
I hate it. I don't know how people do it successfully.
Me either.
Like, yeah, I've turned several people away, and at this point, I feel good about turning them away. I really do.
Me too. I'm like, I will not do that, but my friend will. Here's her Instagram. She's taking new clients. Hit her up.
And I think people appreciate that.
I do too.
So,
especially in this economy, right now, people, their extra money, they don't want you to either not enjoy it and then you do a bad job, or you're not very good at it, but you don't want to say no to them. When just tell them, I'm not taking clients for that, but here's 3 different people that are. That's what I think is important, is telling people no, but giving them that replacement, so that's another reason why community in your community where you live is really important too, having those relationships.
Yes, I agree. And that's what I love so much about Colorado Springs, because there was that big community there and there were so many people that I could use to refer out. But here there's like one place, like one or two places. So I always preface it with like, I've never got a service done there, but I know they offer it. Okay, and so we wanted to also touch on skincare misinformation, especially on like social media. And I think you're a little bit more active on TikTok than I am. Sorry, I bought my microphone. So if you want to talk about like what you noticed and what you've experienced there.
I just feel like I could go, if someone would give me a microphone, I could talk about this for 4 hours.
Get yourself a microphone. Everybody has a podcast now.
Yeah, so this is my biggest frustration. I'm going to pick one of my frustrations to talk about because I have so many. So I have so many clients, and it happens to me more with the people that I grew up with and know from growing up in Georgia. But I get a message from someone, and it's a video of some influencer that, you know, they might have a couple 100,000, or sometimes they even have a couple million. And they're like, hey, they said that this changed their skin. What do you think about it? And so I go click on the video, and it, at the very bottom, at the smallest thing that you can't even make out barely, it says #ad. Mm-hmm. And so my response to them, and I also don't want to discredit, you can do an honest review and you can do an honest paid partnership. And I think those are really important. And I think that those 4 online content creators are what help them pay their bills. And so I'm not discounting that. What I'm discounting is when they say, I've been using this for 3 months and I'm so obsessed with it. It changed my skin. If you have XYZ, it completely healed it. But then you look at the bottle that they're using and it looks like they haven't used any of it. So yeah, that's my biggest frustration, is just don't say, I've been using this for so long and it literally healed my skin. Just say, hey, I'm sponsored by this. They're paying me to bring this to my audience, and I've been using it for a couple weeks and I like it so far. Yeah. Or just be honest about what you're saying, and don't take the partnership, obviously, if you don't like it. But that's my biggest frustration, is just every day there's a new skincare product that quote unquote changed someone's skin, and then everybody rushes out to go buy it. And skincare is, if I've learned anything being an esthetician, the things that worked for me those same things haven't worked for every single one of my clients. And then very different things work for the other 50% of my clients, or even people that I do virtual consultations for. So skincare is so individualized. So I just wish on social media, especially TikTok, I feel like it's the most prevalent on TikTok. Every week there's a serum that changes your life, or the using the Dial bar soap was going for a while. Or I
think I saw you talk about that one, but I didn't see it. I guess I have a different For You page. God. But
you did, yeah, you weren't on my side of TikTok that day. I was so
no, I'm on Jasper the Doll TikTok. If that says anything about me.
Somehow I've gotten onto like influencer. I have a lot of dermatologists actually on my For You page that do the reaction videos, and they're like, what are you doing? What are you talking about?
And there are a couple of those dermatologists that I really do like. I like Dr. Whitney Bowe, and then I can't think of his name, but he is a dermatologist that does like Dr. Reacts, and he is Asian.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. I love him.
Yeah, I feel like he's really genuine. But yeah, talking about like being genuine and dishonest, there is so much dishonesty in this field because skincare and beauty is like a multi-billion-dollar industry. And yeah, I just hate the consumerism of it, but I think there's nothing that we can do about that, but just like educate our clients and our friends.
Yeah, me too. And you know, I know that you probably know this from my page, but I've never been this way because I didn't grow up this way. And even as an practicing esthetician, I have clients that sometimes come to me and they're like, hey, I went to so-and-so to get a facial, and they told me that they wouldn't treat me if I wasn't able to buy the line that they carry, and I just can't afford that, but I still want to take care of my skin. I'm never, ever going to tell you, no, I can't, I'm not going to treat you if you aren't willing to buy XYZ. Obviously, there's a time and a place. Like if we're working on something, you know, there's so many things that go into it, but I would never turn anybody away, especially in the way that inflation is going and the economy. And that kind of ties into what I'm saying about the influencing people on TikTok. Like these people are like, oh, this changed her skin and she's so beautiful, I'm going to go buy that. And then it doesn't work for them because they were paid to talk about something that they probably don't even use. So I just think it's just ugly. And I agree.
It's selfish.
I just think that you're right. We need to just educate people on, hey, go to an esthetician and they can point you in the right direction. That might be Glymed. That, you know, there's so many different professional lines that are tried and true that we know are something in the line is going to work for you that we're able to recommend. Sometimes still there's trial and error with estheticians, and not the first thing might not work for you, but we can at least point you in the right direction to not just waste your money. And you could buy one product that we recommend for the same price that you can buy 4 of these serums that you're buying off of Amazon from TikTok
that aren't even going to work for you because it's not what you need.
Anything for you, right?
Yeah, I actually, what you said previously, had that happen like a month ago. Someone came to me for microneedling consult, and she was like, I wanted to get it done at this place, but they told me I had to buy everything from their skincare line in order to do it. And I was like, I understand like making sure your client is prepped with a tyrosinase inhibitor and they have like an SPF that they're using religiously, but like I would never make someone buy my entire line just for the sake of making a sale. I'm not saying that's what they did, but like that's how I feel about it.
That's how I feel about it too.
Yeah.
And there's also a time and a place, like there's a time and a place for, hey, I can, like you're telling me you don't use anything on your skin, but you want me to needle your entire, like you want me to do 3 rounds of needling?
That's a hard no.
That's a different story. But I'm not going to be like, well, I'm not going to treat you at all unless you buy every product that I sell.
Right.
That's just silly. Yeah. I don't like that.
And I know you do a lot of, which I really appreciate, that it's not who I am, but I really appreciate that I see some of your videos and you go to the drugstore and you're like, this is esthetician approved, because people are going to go to the drugstore anyways. So that's
how I see it.
Yeah, at least you're helping them out, and then people will follow you and they will like, what's the word I'm looking for? Be appreciative of your knowledge, the fact that you're offering that.
Yeah, and that's something that I battled with because obviously when you become an esthetician, you're like, okay, I see the studies, I see how it's formulated with the chemist, and I understand it and I appreciate it, and I only use professional lines in my treatment room, but I also know that the busy mom of 4, when she's out of her cleanser, who doesn't get facials regularly, that might follow me or another esthetician or whatever, just to know, okay, this cleanser is really shitty, but this one's okay and will get me by until I'm in a better place where I can go and get a really good line to work on the things that they're going to buy it either way. So at least I can say, okay, this one's going to do absolutely nothing for you, or it's going to wreck your barrier. If you're going to do it, these are some options that are gonna not hurt you more than they help you.
Exactly. I love that. But I also do feel like there's a fine line, because sometimes I do have clients that I might be waxing and they're not getting skincare treatments from me, but they'll ask me, what do you think about this drugstore product? Or what drugstore products do you recommend? I've had people flat ask me that.
Yeah.
And I will tell them, well, I'm not familiar with drugstore products, so I'm not going to recommend any. But I could recommend you some of my products. But if you do already have a specific one at home, I can let you know what I think about it. But I'm not going to blatantly recommend you a whole drugstore line.
Right. And I think there's power in that too. Of if they're gonna buy it anyway, then at least they know from an esthetician that what I have at home, can you look at that and see? Because right now that's all I can afford, but I would love to do, because then they're more likely to come.
It builds
when
a
I'm
trust.
in a better place, I'm going to come do a consultation and get on a really good line.
For sure.
Yeah, I love that. I like that too, that you do that.
Well, I'm excited to see. I know we were chatting behind the scenes about like what you're planning to do in the future. So I'm excited to see where you go from here.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
I really appreciate you having me on. This is my first time doing a podcast. I hope I don't sound
No, you're perfect.
nervous.
Sometimes
Okay.
I sound like a complete dork, and I'm like, what the am I even talking about? Like, people are going to think I'm stupid. No, you did great.
I listen to your podcast all the time. I love it. I think that this is so important for you to have other people in the industry on that you can talk to, and also just non-estheticians and non-people in the beauty industry can listen to and learn something. And I think that that's really important and powerful.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, I'll chat to you off air. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. And as always, I will see you next Monday at 8 a.m. Mountain Standard Time for another episode.